Namaste and good evening. I welcome you all to this today's program. It's a Wednesday program. It's the first of the series. So we have our distinguished speaker, C. Nagappan, with us, sir. I request you to occupy the chair, sir. Thank you. Before we begin our session, I request member to rise for the I Say motto song.
य एष सुप्तेषु जाग्रति य एष सुप्तेषु जाग्रति कामं 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 कामपुरुषो पुरुषो निर्विमाणः निर्विमाणः तदेव शुक्रं तद्ब्रह्मा तद्ब्रह्मा तदेवामृतमुच्यते तस्मिन् लोकः शतः सर्वे तदूनात्यति कश्चन एतद्वैता 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 एतद्वैता.
Thank you. Let's take the seats. Before we begin our session, I would like to give a short intro of our C. Nagappan. C. Nagappan K is a chartered accountant and experienced consultant in information systems audit and internal financial control, with a career spanning industries such as banking, nuclear power, gaming, distilleries, and more. Mr. Nagappan has consistently demonstrated excellence in auditing, governance, and digital transformation. Currently, as a practicing member, he plays a pivotal role in assignments related to IT general controls, application reviews, and internal controls in both the banking and manufacturing sectors. Beyond the boardroom, Mr. C.A. Nagappan is a passionate guest lecturer, sharing his insight on corporate governance, digital marketing, and insurance with young minds in colleges. Sir, on behalf of SIRC of ICI, I welcome you to today's session, sir. I now request C.A. Raghutam to give away the memento as a gesture of our as a appreciation. Thank you so much, sir. I now request C. Nagappan, sir, to take over the stage, sir. Thank you.
Thank you for the warm welcome, sir. Thank you, sir. Good evening, everyone. I know it's a small crowd, so it might be more interactive with this way. So any questions you have can be basics also, because I also learning right now. Whatever I've learned so far in my journey, I'm going to present it here. So any kind of questions is welcome. In case I couldn't answer it now, you can send me a mail. I can revert back to you. Okay. So before when you saw this topic or CPE program, what was your thought? Why you are here now? Anything, any thoughts will be there, because whenever we see IT audits or IT, because... Okay, sir. True, sir. True, sir. Yeah. To empanel with them also, they need one CISA, DISA in the firm. Correct. But they never ask any testers in that area, actually. True, sir. But now it's changing. The certain is coming in. So what they're doing is, they want firms to empanel a certain. So the teams will be going a rigorous training and also a testing screening criteria. Then only they'll be eligible to have a certain. So that is right now. Yeah.
This IS audit and have moved to certain, not
Yes.
CA account, but still they want visa.
You can do still, sir. Yeah.
What is the use of having the visas nowadays with the CA?
We'll see. We'll see. That.
Updating the knowledge.
Yes, yes, true, sir. Because traditionally we see, okay, how we did audits. It's like paper and pen, and then becomes report, Excel spreadsheets, now Power BI. So then what we're moving into. So that's what we're going to see, sir. So I'm not going into the details. I'm going to give a broader aspect. So what are the opportunities or like domains available? Because this has been given like say 15, 20 years back itself by our like institute, saying like these are the opportunities which the CAs can venture into, because then they predicted, okay, because the railway booking and all came in 2000 to 1995 itself. So they know it's going to progress into the internet era. Now it's like AI and blockchain. So we have progressed so far, but still auditors are doing in the traditional way only. Only few firms, the top firms are going into the IT tools or like IT automated controls and like all those things to enhance or like easy, like make it easier to do an audit. Otherwise, we are still doing the manual calculation. So we'll see what are other things we can go into it. First of all, what is an IT audit? I'll go back. You just tell like what, whenever you hear this word, information system or information technology, what comes to your mind? What is it?
Records and the IT assets.
Okay.
Information, soft copy information, whatever they
Right, sir. Okay. Okay. Right, sir. So you gone into the final aspect. So it's like, first of all, IS audit is a broader aspect. There's a difference between IS and IT, information systems and information technology. Information system covers the end-to-end aspect because there is a goal for the company, a business goal, which is a functional aspect. But the business is being run through a IT or an application or a software. The architecture is different, the methodology is different. So if you go into a particular process or a particular application, that is IT, you go into the information technology. But information systems is a process. Say whenever you are hiring an employee, so how we are giving an access control to him, or how the IDs are being generated, how the application controls are given to him, how the biometric is given to him. So all those things. So it's a system. Initially what we do, we give him an offer letter, so then we hire him, and the attendance will be in a manual register, then we put it in Excel, and we manually compute it. Now Great HR is there. So HR tools are there. And biometric is automatically linked to the HR tool. The tax is automatically calculated, the deductions are automatically calculated. So whenever you find any deviation, you go into it and you regularize it based on the request. This is what we do right now. So if you see the process is same, the systems have changed. So we always focusing on the system or the technology, but we never focus on the information, right? So whenever we are IT, we only think of technical things. Laptop, desktops, servers, databases. But we have to think about information also, right? So we'll go into it later. Here it is a basic explanation of what I've explained. The process of evaluating controls over an organization information system, practice and operations. So you can take the example of hiring an employee. So what we are doing is evaluating the controls. So who can have access to the biometric control or biometric data? There's the restriction given. And then the practices and operations. Everything will be already done, but currently we are making it into a IT process. And then also which determines whether the components of the information system that safeguards assets and maintain data integrity or operating effectively. We'll get into the second part later, which it is called as a CAA triad, which is basically confidentiality, integrity, and availability or accountability. So need for an IS audit. We are speaking about opportunities, but initially let's see what is an IS audit. We understood, okay. So business process being done in a application or a IT software. But then why it is needed? Because we know Now everything is automated or digitalized. So whenever we're going to see something, we want to ensure all the controls which is presented manually are still present or not. If not, well, there is a compensatory control available. So that's what. So there is 3 criteria. One is a regulation. There is a mandatory law or a statute which says we have to have so-and-so control, so-and-so audit, we are doing it. And then it will be best practices, which will be the guidelines given as per the industry standards, say RBI, and the baseline, which is essential, or the minimum criteria that we should have. Say like a cashier who can pay more than 10,000, you have a restriction. So same, you should have a basic IS security control in place to ensure the data which is in the system is integral and it's not tampered with. So that is a baseline. So this is the need for a IS audit as per the regulations. We have categorized it into 4 aspects. One is the finance laws, which is prevalent in India, also abroad, US, and the data privacy laws. The DPDP Act is going to replace IT Act in the future. The rules are going to be notified. Now the draft rules are out. It's out for the public validation. And then the GDPR of Europe. And the general laws. How that will be impacted? We are doing an IS audit or any security measures which is implemented in the system. It's not just security, it can be access control, it can be backup, anything. But how it is impacting the general laws. We'll see it in the later slides. The last is the standards and framework. Because whenever you do business with a third party, you go, like any manufacturing concern, whenever they are getting a raw material, what they do, they go to the vendor site and see how the materials are prepared or manufactured to ensure the security or safety standards, ISO. So that is what that ISO 27001 speaks about, the information security management system. Basically, wherever you are storing information, that should be secure and managed properly. So all those are frameworks. The PCI DSS is specifically for banks, which handles the card payments. The expansion is payment card industry, data security systems. Last is, no, sir, these are frameworks. You can additionally do it. Because these are not the regulated parties, these are non-statute companies or organizations which gives the guidelines. So these are the best practices you can follow. So this is the basic opportunities we have right now in the IS audit avenue. Say you know all the audit trail is here. So since April 1st, 2023, every company, as per the Companies Act, should enable audit trail and it should not be disabled and tampered with. So we are doing it and we are reporting it. So that's the major thing which the Companies Act or the Ministry of Corporate Affairs done. And then the RBI, since, yes sir, correct. Thank you. Correct. And also they have installed, it can be maintained electronically. And the backup should be kept. Correct, sir. Thank you. And second, the RBI Act. So recently in 2023, it gave a direction stating all the banks should have, all banks, NBFCs, rural banks, all categories, the regulated entities should have a governance policy. So it's a whole gambit of IT controls or IS audits. So it starts from your information policy and the steering committee, how you implement the change and the change management, backups, and at the end it will be IS audits. So those are the scopes I've given, who can do it. So currently what the bank is doing is, if they can't do it, they outsource it. And as a statutory auditors, now we are really critical because if you see all the payments are automated. Initially in F and RTGS we go, we write a challan and we give it to them and they process it. So that goes via the payment systems. But now everything is internet, mobile banking, internet banking. So what we do, we log in and we get an OTP. We enter what amount we have to pay, who is the beneficiary. It gets automatically verified whether the beneficiary is active or not. And finally, we give the card CVV number, or even certain banks have a proper codes. Say if you G it's 42, H is 81. So you have to input the codes to enable or make the payment. So all those things are here, but we are not sure how that is happening. Correct? So that's why this is really critical. The Reserve Bank of India has made a big stance stating all the IT infrastructure should be sound and efficient. Even in certain cases, banks have been penalized or like put a penalty stating you have to have a IT governance audit and then give a report stating your IT infrastructure is effective. Then only onboarding of clients or issue of credit cards is possible. Yes. Kotak also. So that is there. And SEBI. So recently in August 2024, they came up with this cybersecurity framework. So this is where the certain panel is important. So the audits can be done only by a certain panel member, and the participant should have a ISO 27001. That is mandatory. So who can do that? So for this, what should we have? Like you told, DISA, sir, and also CISA can be possible, because which gives you have to keep on really updating. Whenever we say internal audit, we know, okay, what is the process? If you go into the operational aspect, we know where the lapses are, we know where the controls should be, and how can we negate that, or remediation will be given. But in IT, we don't know the infrastructure also. What is an architecture? How internet works, first of all. I just want to ask, like, are we aware of how an internet works? You send a message, WhatsApp message, and it goes to another phone. If you want, I can play a video. This is not in my slide, but I just wanted to show it to you if you want to see it. Because I always ask this. We don't know internet system, but we are IT auditors, right?
लेके सुबह उठकर कॉलेज जा रहा है और उसको बस थ्योरी पढ़ाकर भेज दिया जाता है कि ये पढ़ लो, ये एग्जाम में आएगा, और बाकी जो बोर्ड पर लिखा हुआ है उसको कॉपी कर लो। बट आपने सीखा क्या? क्या ऐसी स्किल सीखी जो आपको करियर में काम आएगी, जो रियल वर्ल्ड में काम?
There's a 20 minutes video. I'll just cut it in half because that's how internet works. It'll be ended.
Wait, that's the cable? I was expecting something so much bigger. That's the internet. To get across the ocean, nearly all internet traffic has to use a cable like that one. It's tiny.
You're actually surprised.
So surprised.
I know, I can tell. I love it. All right, let's go get some hard hats.
If you're watching this YouTube video anywhere outside of the United States, this is probably how it's getting to you.
For most of us, the internet is virtual. It's made of Instagram posts and emails and YouTube videos, but it's also a physical thing. And what it's made of and where it goes matters for how we use the internet now and who will benefit in the future. So I want to know, how does our internet really work? And what comes next?
I was born, people were still learning about the internet, and they didn't exactly consider it crucial.
But you know, I think about this, and what about this internet thing? What the hell is that exactly?
And they call it the World Wide Web. You can email anyone.
What the hell is email? Can you believe what's possible these days? Conversations through your computer?
But now it seems we can't even function without it.
Jobs require online applications.
Parents around the country know that their kids can't get an adequate education without internet access.
I mean, people tweeting that they needed to be rescued and a boat come in. It's truly been life-saving.
The internet has become essential to us, but a lot of us still don't know how it works. Okay, I need you to close your eyes. Just trust me, just close your eyes. Yeah, for real, I'm serious, close your eyes.
What's the craziest thing she could show us when we open our eyes? I hope it's kittens.
Okay, now you can open them.
Tiny people.
They're us.
It's tiny us.
So I know that there are three major parts of the internet. We are on this outer ring. They call it the last mile, but really it's the first and last mile. So it's the texts we send, the notifications we receive, the apps we use. Everything we do to connect or receive information from the internet happens in this first and last mile. And we are inside the box office. Also out in this outer ring are houses, and you guys want to help me put these down?
Yes,
so
trees.
all of the trees and all of the houses, all Wi-Fi, which uses routers somewhere in our office or somewhere in your home, and all cell service, which means that you're pinging a cell tower a little bit further away, but still pretty close by. All this wireless technology uses radio waves to send signals into and out of the internet. I'm going to show you how this works. But first, I'm going to take a selfie. Perfect. Okay, so this is our selfie. I'd like to call attention to
Joss, you've nailed that face.
Yeah, it's my go-to.
So I'm just going to send this to you via email.
Typical email.
Typical email.
There it is.
Boom.
Ta-da.
So my goal is to figure out how my email got from my phone to yours. In order for my email to get from here to here, my phone takes that photo and cuts it up into more manageable packets.
We've been decapitated.
Just
me.
Just you. So imagine each packet like a letter in an envelope. So if each envelope gets a header, which is a little bit more information that includes
Where it's from.
and where it's going to, and a bunch of other things that we're not going to talk about. So the format of each
This is the sender address and this is the receiver address. And these packets like she has cut the photo into 4 pieces because it is more like manageable by the internet or the wire to be transferred along. Okay, so I'll just play it.
Each header follows a set of rules, and you can think about these rules like the rules of the online postal system, how everything is packaged and sent and received on the internet. So you've probably heard people say that everything that happens in our computer is ones and zeros, right?
I have.
Binary.
Yeah.
Which we can think of as a kind of Morse code your computer understands.
I can't explain it now because it's in too much detail you have to understand. Just note it down, OSI layer. This is an open source interface layer which explains you what is an application, what is a network, what is a transport layer, and what is a network access layer. Because all those things will be covered, and this is a simple protocol or a template given. So if I'm going to send something along the internet, these are the stages it has to go through.
And everything that you send over the internet is also binary.
What?
Ta-da!
When did this happen?
I do magic now. Okay, so each 1 or 0 is a bit, and 8 bits is a byte. So if this photo was 1.1 megabytes, that's 8,800,000 ones and zeros.
So somehow these binary ones and zeros have to get onto radio waves to be transported to the router.
Exactly.
Right?
Yes.
Okay.
And that's where I got stuck. So I called up Sundeep Rangan, who specializes in computer engineering at NYU. How does a wave carry binary information?
That is a very good question. So the simplest thing you could do is every time you want to transmit, say, a 0, you could transmit 1 frequency.
And every time you want to transmit a 1, you transmit a different frequency. And then as long as the receiver can detect which frequency it is, it can know it's a 1 or 0. That's actually called frequency modulation.
Is it also fair?
Once the wave formation for 0 is shorter, but for the 1 it is longer.
Then to say that at its most basic, a cell phone is a radio?
It is a radio. It is absolutely a radio.
Okay, so waves with binary information have to get from my phone to the router. But then at the router, they have to be turned into something else that can go out the back of that device along cables to get to their next location. Depending on what the wire is made of, it's either going to be pulses of electricity if the wire is copper, or pulses of laser light.
So it's a laser, and it just turns on when there's a 1, it turns off when it's 0.
So faster than this.
A little bit faster than
Faster than this? So our photo went from binary to radio waves to little flashes of laser light, right?
Yes.
Where does it go after that?
We're about to find out.
The wireless signal is getting converted into analog signals. So those are called as modulated, demodulated, modems. Initially, they used to call us modem, now we call it as routers, because everything is embedded in one thing. The 4 antenna thing, no, if you see behind, that is called as routers. So whenever using a Wi-Fi, you connect through it, so that connects to the internet. So everything is wired until we use our laptops and mobile phones.
But I'm gonna take Alex.
You're not taking me?
No, it's his turn, I gotta go. So the wires out of the back of our router connect to other wires inside our office, which are owned by our internet service provider, or ISP. And they're responsible for looking at the header of each of those envelopes and figuring out the most efficient route to get to its next location, which is an internet hub.
And where would that be?
Right there. That's an internet hub.
This old building?
Yeah.
All right, let's go.
It looks just like every other office building I've ever seen.
Well, it started as Western Union's headquarters, so it supported telegraph operators back in the day, and it's migrated to today where it's supporting the internet here in lower Manhattan.
That's poetic. So all those wires all need to come to a place like this to connect between networks. So for example, our ISP in the office has a network, and AT&T, which is Christoph's cell provider, has a network. And in order for
Who will be the ISPs in India? Here they're mentioning AT&T. For us, who will be the internet service providers, the ISPs? Yeah, Jio, Airtel, ACT or Wi-Fi companies, all those things are internet service providers. So they act as intermediaries whenever you're sending a message or a text from your phone to your friend's phone.
my email to get from my phone into Christoph's phone, all of those networks have to send those 1s and 0s across those wire pathways.
There's so much that happens in that split second that you connect.
So there's really no such thing as a cloud or any type of magnanimous.
The cloud is a marketing term.
Yeah.
The thing that I find really amazing is that, like, my email is one of the millions of messages flowing through these cables. You know, that feels really abstract, but it's actually, there's a message to somebody's mom, and there's a college application, and there's a job offer.
And there's a dank meme in here somewhere.
Of the world. We're in Newington, New Hampshire, to go to a factory that's going to show us how the internet works at long distances.
We're headed into the third layer, the internet backbone.
Oh, that's the cable highway. What's a cable highway? That's where the cables go from the factory down to the dock.
The company we're going to go see, Subcom, is one of the top 4 submarine cable providers in the world.
There's the ship.
Hi.
Hi, I'm Alicia.
Hi, I'm Cleo. So nice
to meet you. This is the Subcom Decisive. She is a custom-built cable installation and maintenance vessel. She's 139 meters long, which is about 450 feet.
Wow.
Yeah.
The engineering and material science at work here are incredibly complex, but the basic process is actually really simple. Light goes in on one side of the ocean and comes out on the other. So as the Decisive moves across the ocean, the internet cable is going to come out the back and be laid down behind it, and sometimes it's going to be buried in the ocean floor by that machine right there. But most of the time, it's just gonna lay there on the bottom of the ocean.
So these are the two types of cable that we have, the two basic types. So this one is called lightweight cable. So that's the one that we would use in the middle of the ocean. And then this piece is the stuff that we use the plow to install and actually bury. And the cable is engineered to be super strong in a lot of ways, but it is also very delicate in a lot of other ways.
The wires that carry the light waves themselves are typically made of fiberglass, literally just a continuous strand of glass about the size of a human hair. Why is it that there are so few fibers?
We're working on trying to put more fibers inside the cable to get more data into each fiber to make it so that we can send more information on what we already have. Whoa! So that's the cable tank. Slow, slow, we got the pipe, we got the pipe. Go and work it over, work it over. What we're doing is we're loading it into the tank in like a continuous spool, right?
Is it like...
They show the cables and all, but this is what I want you to understand. So this is how internet works. So whenever we speak about any IT, it doesn't like end with the system what we are using or the mobile phone we are using. It's all the wired connections across the continents which is going under the ocean. I hope it gave you some insight on like what we're gonna see, because whenever I say some technical jargons, it's gonna make sense if you know how this is, how an internet works. Because all our systems are connected, all our databases are connected, all our mobile phones are connected. But we want to know how it is connected, how cybersecurity labs can happen, how a hacker can access your system or a mobile phone. So this is how you can know, okay, all the systems are connected whenever you connect to the Wi-Fi router or to the Ethernet cables. Okay? So like we're coming back to the opportunities. We have completed 3 points here. The next will be the IRDA regulations. So we saw the RBI as the cybersecurity framework and also the SEBI. Similarly, the IRDA also has a cybersecurity framework which has given a guidelines stating all those things, the IS security, IS management, the policies, the CISO officer, all the policies should be there, and it can be done by a chartered accountant who has a DISA or CISA with them. And other than the SOS, which they have implemented in 2002 itself, which says that you have to do a internal audit based on IT infrastructure, whether it is sufficient or not, or whether the controls are effective. So there is a word called as COBIT, Control Objectives of IT. So that should be implemented here. And the following will be the DPTP Act, which is going to be rolled out really soon. So that says to carry out the audit to see whether that is sound or not. And these audits will be applicable only to the significant fiduciary, meaning he should process a huge amount of data like Geo, because they have to implement a data protection officer, DPOs, and should have a data audit on a yearly basis and should give out a report their IT infrastructure is sound and they have the personal information secured, encrypted without no one can have access to it. So this is what the control objectives will be. So these things, this is the CA triad I've told you. So initially we used to do financial, where we check for the completeness, accuracy, validity, and authorization. But we are moving into IT now, where we see this CIA and E. So I'll explain the confidentiality part in the next slide. So if you see the confidentiality, what does the confidentiality mean? You are protecting from unauthorized access, unauthorized use. Have you heard the term man in the middle? Or just a hack? So what it does is, we have a data secured in a folder or a system, but someone like tries to tamper with it or like get access to it. So that can be in any method. Say your password. So if you tell some of the like a date of birth or like wherever you're from, whatever your likings, they'll be able to crack it up, right? That is called as brute force or social engineering. So what they do is they come and speak to you naturally and say where you're from, how are you, and what company you're working in. They can get your card and get the domain ID. Say like you're working in a bank, say ICICI Bank. They get the ID. Okay, this is the domain. I'm going to use it. Because once they get the address, it'll be easy to hack into it. Or they get your like date of birth and your favorite pet name. That's a security question you would have given. Right? That is social engineering. Basically, coming and speaking into you and getting data from you and then doing a brute force attack. Meaning, they try like 3 to 10 times putting a different password combination until it breaks. That's called as brute force attack. So all those things called as unauthorized access. So unauthorized use. Once they get the access, what they're going to use it for. Then you have to classify which user will get what access. You can't give all the access to one person. So you have to restrict that. That's confidentiality. And protect data whenever it is in the system and also in transit. Now what it means by transit is the internet. Or internet is basically you're connecting network of networks. What is a network? Whenever you're connecting one system to another system, it is a network. You can say you have a system, PC in your home, and there is another PC. What you can do is you can interconnect these two and make them speak. You can access the data from one computer to the other. So this is called as local area network, which is private to you. No one will access to it. That is a network. So whenever a two system or a two network is getting connected, it is a network. When you call network of network, so you're connecting a lot of networks. Say like multiple computers in an organization is getting connected to the internet to provide access or service to millions of customers. So that is internet basically. So whenever a data is in system, basically in your hard disk or your phone, you take a photo where it is getting stored in your phone. Or if you upload it in the Google Photos, it will be in the data center of the Google. Right? So that is residing on systems. And in transit, whenever you're sending a message or a file, in transit, if someone tries to tamper and like a sniffing, it's called a packet sniffing. We have heard the word packets, right? When she cut the photos into multiple pieces, those are called as packets. The system only understands packets, the binary. So when the packets are being sent to the destination system, what it does is it converts the binary into the picture. Because when you would have witnessed, whenever there is a 3G or 2G, like the lapses in the internet, the file will be loaded partially. From top to end or down to top, the image will be getting. You can see in Instagram, when the network frequency or bandwidth is low, you can see, okay, only few pixels are showing, other pixels not showing. That is because the the packets are not received fully, or it is received in delay. Because one packet could be taking one route, another packet could be taking another route. So there's a delay in the latency. What the network interface card in the system does is it collects all the packets and it references against the addresses. In the photo, on the back side, she has shown, okay, who is the sender, who is the receiver. So based on the address and the serial code, it will add the packets into a single image and then display it to you. So that's how the network interface card works. That's what we call as in transit and in process when it is converting. So the act can happen at any point in time. Whenever you are sending a data or whenever the system is processing or whenever it is getting stored in the system. So at all 3 points, it can be hacked. And integrity. Integrity meaning you are having a data or you are sending a data. It shouldn't be tampered with. So confidentiality, we restrict the access to it. No one can see it. Even if people are seeing it, we have to encrypt it. You have this term, encryption, anytime. So what does it mean, encryption? Right. It can be jumbled, it can be unreadable. Basically, encryption starts in a way, you have 26 letters, A to Z. So what you do is, you give a number to it, 1 to 26. What will I do? I don't want the messenger to read the message. So I'll shift the number 1 to D. So now my overall alphabetical arrangement will change. My alphabet starts from D. So if I write a message in that order, no one can read it. But I'll give the key saying D is the first digit or first letter in my alphabet. The receiver can read it. So he can decode it and then read it. That's what encryption basically means. So whenever I'm sending a message, it will be encrypted or jumbled or in unreadable format. So I have to restrict it whenever I'm moving it. In transit, I have to encrypt it. And in process and storage also, I have to encrypt it because I don't want people to see any crucial information or like sensitive information, like the Aadhaar card, your PIN numbers, your birthday or any security question, or even your medical history. All those are sensitive information. That's why all the DPDP Act, IT Act, everything is getting rolled out now to ensure security. Because whenever we install softwares, we give OK to everything. We don't read the privacy statement at all. But now it is getting mandated that privacy statement should be displayed, and it should be in different languages also, depending on which state you are in, or if it is demanded by the customer, you have to provide it. So all those things are getting rolled out now. That is integrity. So basically, if you want to summarize, confidentiality is no one should have access to it. Even if they have access to it, integrity will be in place because it will be encrypted and no one can read it. And then the availability. This is the most important thing, because if you're storing it in a device and someone hacks it, or it goes into like latency mode, like because you got access quickly, sometimes your internet will be loading. Whenever you're going to pay to a vendor, your GPay say the server bank is not working, the receiver bank is not working, or your server is down, or the internet will be slow. So all those things is a problem. So what they will do, you have to ensure availability. So if you see the point, third point, it says fault tolerance. So basically you're sending a request to any server. So it should be able to categorize or serve to your request. There shouldn't be any delay in it. Even if there is any delay, there should be an alternate server which serves you. Basically it means, I'll explain you the hierarchy of it, the architecture. So IT architecture says your application, and then your server, and then your database. So what you do in the application, you seize it and you do your work on it. Say it can be Tally, but Tally is an embedded database. Let me just take any bank. So you have your web portal. You go and punches in your login credentials. Then you have to make a payment. That is your application, mobile application or internet banking. Then it will be your server. Server is where your application is installed. I won't say hosted, because hosted is a critical term what we have to use, because whenever you install a application from the Play Store, it will be installed in your device. That's basically hosting. So you're giving a space for the application to run. So then it'll go to the server whenever you make changes or update the statement. It'll get updated in the database. That is the third layer. I'll give the hierarchy in the later slides. So basically saying the database and the server should be available at all point in time to ensure efficiency. So what we are going to do now as auditors, because all these things are here, but we are from financial background. So what we are going to do here? So as auditors, we are being used to see the generated reports from the system, but we have never questioned the source. We never know from which system this report has been generated. So it could be your profit and loss, the TB, or your employee data. We don't know whether they have manipulated with it, they have altered any details. So we just want to know the source. Now the source has become more important. So similarly, usually in traditional aspects, we have a bill, so we pass an entry, we see, okay, this is what a TB is, we extract it. But now all the entries are being automatically done. Most of the banks, or all of the banks, as per the RBI guidelines, recent guidelines, there should be no manual intervention in any reporting or uploading or creation of data. Everything or mostly should be straight through processing, STP only. Because the banks are handling a lot of currency or money. If one bank goes down, it will be like a domino effect. So if one bank goes down, the morale of the people against the bank will go down, and they have to take out the money. So then all the banking industry will go down. So what they're doing is, no one should have access, manual access. Everything should be automatically done. That's how the interest computation is done. All the postings is automatically done. Only the team will go and see if there are any deviances. Say I have to pass one entry and it is one GL, but it strongly hit another GL. But that is a bigger risk because automated control is weak. So we have to go and see why the problem has happened. Initially we pass rectification entries and close the books. Now it's not the way. Right? You know this process, right? P2P. So how we do it traditionally? Without a system. Say your request for quotation goes via mail. Okay? Or you go to the party and you negotiate, okay, what will be the price? Then you get the PO. It will be a manual PO. Then what you'll do? You receive the goods, you book a GRN in the register, and then you receive the invoice along with it. Everything is manually kept. Then finally, only for maintaining books of accounts, we pass a purchase entry. But what happens in an ERP, proper ERP for the multinational companies? There is a purchase requisition in the system itself. Someone should authorize it depending on the authorization matrix, and then it moves to the purchase requisition. Then the PO will be created. The PO should state all the GST, deductions, the details of the vendor, and in between there is a creation of vendor. Because to create a PO, you need the ledger which is gonna get. See, you're gonna get a lubricant oil. There is no ledger called as lubricant oil at all. So what you're gonna do, you have to create a ledger. Then you have to give a request to the IT team for them to create it. And then if the vendor is not available in the system, you have to give a request to the IT saying these are the vendor details. You have to give the name, address, branch, GST number, TAN number, everything for you to process the PO itself. So once you tag the PO and you give the price, everything, the system will take care of it. Because whenever you're passing a GRN, it will ask what are the details or what are the quantity you've received. If you put lower or above, if it crosses the tolerable limit, it won't accept. It will ask for the CFO level approval. So all these things, all these controls are being embedded in the system itself. Now we can't say I'm just going to take a TB and put a financial or put a process audit review and then close it up. So now the process is all happening in the system itself. So now we have to go into the system. Now the payment is also integrated. Zoga has made a link with ICICI stating like whenever I make a payment, it goes to the online portal. So you don't need to enter the customer details or the vendor detail at all. You just have to approve it based on the OTP. So that's why the source is important right now, because the source is a system. If you don't know or if you're not aware how the system works, we're not sure from where the data is getting picked up and what we are seeing at all. Okay, before that slide, all we're speaking is IT, right? Apart from Companies Act, whether all acts accept maintaining data or documents or supporting in a digital format? Can we maintain? In a court of law, is it acceptable? Which act says, sir? Right, sir. So, Section 4 of IT Act says like, if you see, notwithstanding anything contained in such law, in any law in India, so it overrides all of it. So such requirement shall be deemed to have been satisfied, rendered or made available in electronic format. All the documents can be maintained digitally and can be declared and given to. So this act came in 2000. So it overrides all of the act and we can maintain. And it is acceptable in the court of law. But the chain of custody should be maintained. Basically, chain of custody is whenever you're moving data from one hand or a storage device to one hand to another hand, there should be a record stating this person has handled this data at a particular point in time. Then only it will be acceptable. So these are the scopes of an IS audit. Initially, we saw what are the regulations that speaks IS audit is mandatory and what we can do in the IS audits. So if you see all these things, this will be covered in those directions or regulations. Because these are the broader aspects, I've covered only few, because this will take a lot of time. Only if you go into ITGC, it's a whole bandwidth of details we have to see. So ITGC. So basically here.
Can you just go back to the IT Act? So the Information Technology Act, what you say is anything that is in an electronic form is an acceptable document.
Right, sir.
So will that become an evidence?
Of course, sir.
So how do you prove that it's an acceptable evidence?
That's why I'm saying it should be in a chain of custody. Or it should be secured in such a way that no one has tampered with the data. If that is done, if that is ensured, then it is acceptable. If not, if you're maintaining an Excel stating that is digitally available, then they won't accept it. Or even if it is a mail. So here I want to link the initial point, general laws, the Indian Contract Act. What we do is we send a PO and say, okay, I accept this price and you send the goods. This is the contract. What if my mail goes down? There's no backup at all. Or someone corrupts it. So here the logs will play a place. So logs will keep a track from which person, what data has been sent to, the subject, the timing, all those things will be there. The data will be backed up. But it should be given. I have to back up my data. If that is given, then you can use it. So if all these things are done correctly, then it will be acceptable.
So which means in case of dispute and it goes to court, then you'll have to do all these steps to ensure
Yes, sir.
Electronic documentation.
Correct, sir. Yes. So ITGC. So here we are speaking about one aspect, IT general controls. So I've put something here. What comes to your mind when we say general controls? Whether IT is physical or digital now? Both, right. So here we speak about physical, sir, not the digital aspects. So these are the things where we're going to see how to do ITGC. It starts with the IT governance, and then it moves to access management. IT governance is basically what is my information security policy that I should have, and what is the level of security that I'm going to have, and the backup policy I'm going to have. All those things will be dealt in the IT governance aspect. And then it is access management. Whom should have what access, depending on what criteria. And then the change management. So change management is basically you're upgrading from an old phone to your new phone, or an old software. You get OS updates regularly in your phones. Say like yesterday it was 14, Android 14, now it is on Android 15 or 16. So that is a change management or upgradation. Then it is IT and infrastructure management. All those IT assets, networks, firewalls, everything will come here. And performance and capacity management will work all through the IT infrastructures. And then the incident management. This is for any smaller changes or smaller incidents or hiccups happening in your day-to-day activity, business activities. So here it is a IT governance. So IT governance basically, I'll simplify here. We have set objectives. You're going to do a business, but you're going to do the business using IT. So you're defining, okay, my business objective is this. On the right side, you'll be IT activities. So in IT, what you'll do, it should not disturb my general process because just I'm using a system. So all my systems should be in place and up to the date, updated to perform effectively. Then what I'll do, I'll compare it with my measures. Say I can have a SLA with a company, a software company stating you have to address so-and-so tickets within so-and-so time. Basically tickets meaning you logged out your account by putting a wrong password 3 times. So what you'll do, you'll go for the IT person and say, my account is locked, I have to reset my password. So this will be a critical depending on the role of the person. Say he is a VP or president of a company, he need the access soon. So it can be at the turnaround time, or the SLA agreement can have saying like 1 hour. Within 1 hour, this ticket should be resolved. So all those things will be in the IT activity and the measure performance. You have the metric in place, but you have to review it whether the metric is being achieved or not. And these are the IT policy aspect which should be available. So I'll go one by one. So risk management. IT is not just about my data is being secured. It should also have a risk. What will happen if some system goes down? So all those risks will be defined here. And then the data classification. Like I told, we spoke about information technology, and we focus only on technology. We don't focus on information. So that information classification will be happening here. So what can be the data classification? You would have seen in your mails and all, or any PPTs that you present. Anything you've come across, you should have. So basically, that's the mail policy, sir. But here, the data classification basically means four types of classification. One is the confidential, unrestricted, only management can use it, and public, and internal document. Because this defines what kind of data should be shared with what kind of persons. If you are going to share a price-sensitive information, it's not public.
Role-based access.
Sorry, sir?
Role-based access.
No, sir. For giving that also, this is mandatory. Your IT policy will start with the information policy or information security policy, where you will be defining what or which data or which information is critical to my business. If this goes out, my competitor will get the competency, or he'll get my customers. Or if my price information is getting out, my shares might crash. So all those things, these are critical information. So you can say restricted. Only management will have access to it. And confidential is only the receiver should be able to see it, not should be shared. And internal is like for internal memos. And then the public, the deals can be displayed. Because whenever you're doing a bank audit or NBFC audit, they say, we can't share the deals with you because it's confidential. So what they do is you come here, you see the records here. Or they'll give a VDA access or VPN access, where virtually you have to connect to their terminal, basically meaning any disk. I'm using your system, using my system. So that's what data classification, which is more important, because whenever you write any other policy, say access control policy, now the role-based access will come. If he is in the finance department and a cashier, you should have only these set of information. That will be referred to data classification. And patch and vulnerability. Like I told, there are software updates coming day to day, but the bank or the company will decide whether I have to update this or not, because there is a lot of customization happening. Say in Tally, we don't have an integrated inventory module properly. So what I do, I'll create my own module saying I have to integrate all the production thing. I have a list of POs or like SOs pending. So today what I'm going to produce, I have it in place. So what I'll do, I'll put it in the system itself. And the system will say, okay, you have already so-and-so production requirement, and you can have the capacity of 2 tons for today. So that should be approved in the system itself. But if you're going for the newer version, all those customization will be lost, because the Tally doesn't know that you have customized it. So it's your decision to make whether to patch it up or not, meaning you have to upgrade or not. But the securities patches, there are 2 types of patches. One is the version upgradation, and then is the security patches. If you get a phone, they'll give 2 things. One is the OS updates. So till Android 18 or 20, you'll get it. And then the security updates, which will be rolled out monthly. So basically, I am ensuring your device is secure. So you have to mandatorily update that patches, but not the version upgrades. That depending on the business requirement. And then the incident response, like I told the SLA thing. So whenever an incident, your ticket is rising, depending on what are the incidences. See, your account is locked out. Then this policy will take care of what is the minimum level or minimum turnaround time within which the vendor or the internal IT team should act upon. If that is not done, there will be consequences with it. And acceptable use. Acceptable use basically meaning your devices, your organizational devices, for what purpose you can use for. If you go to like MNCs, they have a certain restrictions. You can access Google, but you can't go to any other site. YouTube will be blocked. So many things will be blocked. That will be done in the acceptable use. And then the physical and environmental security. Because here we are seeing physical thing. That is a major. So the IT policy contents, what should be there? This is the basic rudimentary thing I have given. So one is the purpose for what I'm writing this policy and what it covers. That will be in the scope. And consequence of non-compliance. So I'm saying this is the criteria or metric that you have to follow, but you're not following it, what will happen? And then refer to standards and procedure. Like I told, in email, the data classification will be there. So in my information security policy, I have classified these are the data which are critical. So in the email, I have to set up a rule stating if these are the words, say financial statements and unpublished reports, or like a draft report. If I'm going to send it out of the organization, the rule will catch hold of the mail and it won't send it out. You can see it in the quarantine boxes. Whenever you receive some spams or like any promotional mails, which will be blocked or put it in the spam folder of your Google, Gmail, right? So that rule will apply here. So you can add on rules to it, saying if these are the terms, I'll get Indigo promotional offers repeatedly. So what the organization has done is they put up a policy stating if this kind of words are there in the mail or even in the header, so that should be quarantined. Until and unless I act upon it, saying okay, I trust the sender and I have to release the mail into my inbox, it won't be done. So that will be in the referral to standards and policy. So all those things, all those policies will be interlinked and will be referred to. And approval. In case of you're deviating from the norms, who has to approve it? And finally, the revision history, when it was recently revised and approved. I'll just show a sample policy here. Hope this is visible. So here it says the purpose. It's an email policy which I have taken, for example. So the purpose of this email policy is to ensure the proper use of company email system. Because each of us will have a domain, right? So whenever you're going for Gmail or Outlook, it'll give a final domain saying like so-and-so associates or so-and-so firm. Because that is the domain we have created for us. So email system and make users aware of deems as acceptable and unacceptable use of in email. So even you can have a harassment policy saying like these kind of words are restricted, because certain MNCs will have a policy in place and which will be triggered in case if you use in the like personal chats. Even in Outlook or Skype you're using certain words which will be captured and reviewed by the team members or the management, and like necessary action will be taken. So all those can be linked here. Because if you see here, make users aware of what the company deems as acceptable and unacceptable use of its email system. So if you're sending a threat mail to someone and if the email policy captures it, you will be terminated. So that's how powerful these policies are. So this is what the purpose is. And then the scope. Policy covers appropriate use of email sent, and this is the policy. What and all should be there, what should not be there. And the related standards where you have to referring. Data protection standard or something. This is the revision history. So this is our standard policies. If you want to have any number of, you can have any number of policy, but it should be IT policy because we are looking at the IT infrastructure angle. If you want more templates, you can refer SANS, S-A-N-S. There are a lot of templates. I've taken this from there only. So you can refer it. It will give you an idea what a basic policy should be. SANS. Okay, we have seen policy, but there are these three words which keep on gets repeating. Policies, standards, and procedures. Have you heard of it? Whenever we go to organization for an audit, we ask for SOPs. We ask for policies. Can anyone say what is the difference between these three? Policies, standards, and procedures. Could be wrong, it could be right. Just try. Like, what could be the differences? Policies, standards, and procedures. So policy will cover a broader aspect. Sir, you want to say something? Okay. So policies.
Probably internal. Policies, standard is something which is probably like a law or something.
But RBI gives policy direction, sir. But what it specifically says is, your internal policy should embed all these things. You can have additional controls also, but these are the basic requirements that you should have. So this policies is not just internal, it's also compliance-wise. So policies will give a broader guidelines. Say like, I have another slide that might explain you more. So here the difference is given. So policies, this is the password policy. So password basically is what kind of password you should have. Because whenever you try to reset a password, it says it's not strong, it's weak. You have to try more things, right? So what the general policy will say? It says password must meet certain complexity criteria, such as minimum length, combination of uppercase and lowercase, number and special characters. This we all seen, right? So only the slash, like question mark will not be accepted. So, and you have to have a complex password. So this is the guideline, broader guideline. You can't have any determined length or like what are the characters I should use, I should not use. Policy does not say that. If you go to the standard, it says minimum password length. Say, such as minimum length. So the standard will define what is the minimum length. Password must be at least 8 characters long. And complexity requirements. Password must contain a combination of uppercase, lowercase, numbers and special characters. So guidelines will say you can have a complex password, but standard will say how complex it should be. Because it can cut the special characters, it can cut lower cases, you should have only uppercase password. So all these things will be given out in the standards. And what procedure does? How you will be implementing it. So you have a standard in place. You're saying these are the standard I should follow. But are we following it? How do you see? You see the procedure. How it will be implemented. You see password creation, step-by-step instruction on creating a strong and secure password, including example of acceptable password formats. So you have to ensure or make aware of the user. So these are the type of password that you can create or you should create. Or these are the password you should not create.
So is it mandatory that in a governance framework, you need to have a bifurcation between policy, standard,
No, sir, then it will be huge. If you see, in the policy, you can have a broader guidelines. IT policy will give, okay, these are things you should have. Because multiple teams will be working on it. If you see here, this is a business requirement. But this procedure will be done by the IT team, not by the business team. So if you're having a single thing, it won't suffice.
So what I'm saying is, can we just reduce it into two documents? One a policy, the other one which is a SOP kind of thing, which has the standard as well as the procedure mentioned.
That will be there, sir. But depending on which team you're giving it to. Say, you're giving it to the users. Then it will be embedded here itself. But this standard will be defined by techno-functional teams, both of them. Because the business people will know these are the type of controls I should have. But the technical people will know better. So what kind of passwords I can have or I cannot have. And what is the longevity of the password. How long it should be. Because 3 months once in an organization they ask for reset your password because it's old or expired. So that is a mandatory check they have to have. And what are the recent passwords that you can reuse. So all those things will be decided based on the techno-functional team.
So here the question comes to first. Time and again what they say is the topmost management will have to take into or will have to approve the policy.
Yes, sir.
Correct. So when it says that the management has to approve the policy, so is it just the policy which is just a broad framework or should it also include the standards?
My view is it should also include the standards. Yes.
Then why do we have to have 3 separate documents?
Because it serves different purposes, sir.
So which means technically what you say is you take back your standard document as well as a policy document, get it approved by the management.
Yes. Because this third one, we know, this will be taken care by the user or the technical team. Here, they have to discuss with the multiple teams to know, okay, if it is a financial a software, then I'll say, okay, once in a month they have to change the password. Or if it is even critical, then they have to add a second layer of security, the multi-factor authentication, the OTPs and authenticated, all those things. So it all depends on what kind of application. You have to categorize it. Whether you say it's a critical application for a bank or a company. So these are my critical application because Ola, Uber, they have the single application which is more critical. So for that, there could be n number of authentications or n number of password configurations or securities. Okay, next, we have covered the IT governance. Now it is access management. So the second component, access management has all those layers because it starts from the physical. We've seen okay, IT starts from physical, then goes to digital. So first of all, if someone has to get access to it, it will be mostly in the physical angle. So whenever an employee joins, you'll give him an access card. So access card, what will say? So you are working in such department, accounts or finance. So you have to go only to these floors, or you have access only to these bays. Apart from that, you can't have access to anything. The common floors, common areas you can have access, but not to the floors. Because there you are restricting. Even the server rooms will be present in certain banks or companies. So all the people should not have access. Only the IT team should have access. Because in terms of emergency, they have to go and repair it. Not any other person go and play with it. So it starts from physical and environmental. Because all the space control and rodents, it's all wires. What if a rat bites it? Your system goes down. So you should have all those control and even water. So that's why if you see in most of the movies or in server areas, it will be in the elevated spaces. All the wires will be going down and the servers will be on top. Because if it's flooded, the wire can handle it, but not the servers. So the elevated spaces will be there. And the network area. Network area is basically you're getting access to the Wi-Fi or the routers. So whenever you're going for audit, they'll be hesitant to give you access, or even they'll only give you a backup to work on it, not the internet access, because they know which is vulnerable. If you get access to it, you can attack the system and bring down the company at all. So the networks, and then the application. What kind of application I'm giving access to? Because if you get access to the application, you can change certain modification, and which will impact my database level changes. Because from the database only, we are picking up all the data and giving us reports or calculating, evaluating, and making decisions on it. So these are the layers of access management that I'll have. So these are the basic physical access control. So whenever you're bringing in a visitor, you don't give him the entire access. You just say either you can have an access card or you will have a security to accompany you. And then the access review and deprovisioning. So this is most critical, because whenever an employee joins an organization, on what day he is joining, from what day the access control should be given. If he leaves the organization or if it's being terminated, the access should be deprovisioned at the spot, because he should not vandalize the property of the company. So depending on what kind of circumstances the employee is leaving, this deprovisioning plays a critical role. And regular assessment and training. So basically displaying your ID card, punching in or not tailgating, because we have seen in MNCs, people give one punch in and then 10 people will go. So that's tailgating. So that should not be done. So training should be there. And environmental control, like whatever we've discussed in the above slide, so same. Intrusion detection is no one should tamper with the access control, because in case your power goes down, your electronic access, your access card might not work. So what will be that? You should have a backup battery in place so that the doors work properly, or else it should automatically open. Then what will happen? You put a control in place, but if the power goes down, so we should think about it, what should be the other feasible options. And now we are going to the logical access control. So if I go back to the previous slide, if you see here, this is the physical environment, the red one. All other, these things are logical access, because depending on the role only, this person will be getting access. Say it is a vendor, only on what domain he is working, he'll be given access to. If it is an employee, only for certain network access he'll be having it. And application, say my finance department will not have access to a like forecasting or like say marketing tool or even the operation tool. You can only have in a budgeting level. So type of application also depends based on the role-based access or the logical access controls. Here the user management. So whenever an employee joins, you will receive a mail from the HR team saying so-and-so employee with so-and-so role and description has joined a so-and-so firm from so-and-so date. So depending on that, the role will be requested. So these details will be sent to the respective department. The department will say, for this role, this is the access I want. But all those things should be in the, or embedded in the IT control or the information system itself. Say in the finance application, I'm saying, this is the admin role or this is the entry role. So this person can only enter journal entries or make an expense entry, nothing more than that. And even then, if he is putting an expense of more than 1 crore, he should not be able to do it. All those conditions are embedded in the user management. And what kind of roles? Like, because say he's an entry guy, he can have only access to 1 T codes of SAP, right? Then the session management. You would have witnessed it in the internet banking. You've logged in, but you've not used it for say 5 minutes. It automatically logs out. Because if you left it open, someone might get access to the system and might use it. So this is the critical component. Same goes for your laptop. If it's inactive, or even for mobile, if it's inactive for 3 minutes, it automatically logs up. You have to put in a password or a fingerprint to enter into it. So that is session management. And so suspension of inactive user ID. So this will be covered as part of the user management. Because user management doesn't only says provisioning, deprovisioning. It also says like critical monitoring, like periodical review of user access controls. Meaning, during the period, say in the first 6 months, I've joined as an analyst, and then I moved into senior analyst. Now my role has changed. So my access has changed. So both the application owner, there will be basically 3 teams, I would say. One is the business team, which works on the application. Then the app owner, who will take care of all the changes in the app. Then the technical team, who will make the changes, the IT team. So there will be 3 things. So app owner will have control over the application, how to run it. If I want to make any modification to it, the IT team or the vendor will take care of it, in case if I purchase the softwares. Okay, so all those 3 things will be connected, and I'll be reviewing it on a daily or a frequent quarterly basis or half-yearly basis, saying at the end of the period, who are the active users of the application. I'll know, okay, which user have access to what kind of modules. Then I'll take that, and I'll cross-link it with the HR data. Say these are the employees who are in the organization. If I see any organization has left the company, then means like I have not deprovisioned his ID. It's still active. So it's a possibility the employee could be still using it and making changes to the modules. So there are like certain instances which has happened in Okta Capital. So the hack happened because the administrator, database administrator, had an access to the cloud software, the AWS, Amazon Web Services, and he or she was making changes to the database and getting the details, the customer data, to sell it online. So these things can happen if the deprovisioning is not happening on a proper date. So that will be the suspension of inactive user ID. And privileged user access management. So what will be the privileged user? What can you say with it? Because we are saying user, right sir? So elevated entitlements. So I can make any changes. I can give role entitlement to any persons in the organization. Say for the financial application or the ERP, I'm the admin or the super user who will be giving access to all the other persons. So I can make changes to the data. I can enter any entry. I can delete any entry. I can modify anything. So that will be the privileged user. So for these IDs, you have to get the list of IDs and then you have to analyze those logs. So what are the activities or changes made by so-and-so ID during the period? So on reviewing that, if you are finding any person who is not supposed to have the ID or access, should be revoked. And final is the password configuration that we have seen now. So this is a sample of user access management or the roles and responsibilities. These are the user IDs. This is the username. And these are the modules or roles I'm given. Because roles are standard thing. The employees can have a different designations, but the roles are similar. Say entry, uploader, maker, or a checker. This is a role description, not a designation. So here I'm saying purchase order creation. So this is a role. One person has to create, another person has to approve. If you see here, the PO creation, this user is having access to PO creation and also goods receipt. So what is the wrong? What is the control lapse here? Yeah. So he is creating the PO in case if there is any deviation in the GRN, he can do anything. So he shouldn't be having access to it. So this is the control. In case of physical control, we know, okay, one person making a GO, he is signing it, and another person putting a GRN. In case of user access role, which is embedded in the system itself, like I told in P2P. So everything is in system. Until and unless you see this, you won't know, okay, this person has the maker ID, this person also has a checker ID, or this person can do both the things at the same time. So you have to do the review. This is the user access management or the user validation review you have to do. So user validation review, what they do is, they take this kind of matrices and see, okay, this user should have this role depending on his designation or role. Because there's a roles and responsibilities defined to him. Okay, so then what is access given to him? They'll check that. If that is more than what his role demands, then it should be revoked. Or it can be retained depending on the management decision. So it's kind of the same. If you see here, the vendor master data, this user is having access to the goods receipt node and vendor master data. Vendor master data should be accessed only by the IT team because it's a core. The master maintenance will go through a change management process. Basically meaning, if I'm going to change the entire master, which will be displayed in my accounting invoices, I shouldn't be allowing everyone to have access to it. It's like a super user. And this is the famous matrix, which is RC is responsible, accountable, consultant, and informed. So if you see here, this is the business analyst activities. Define employee roles. Who should define it? If you see the R, who is responsible for it? Human resource. Depending on when he is hired or for what he is hired, you will say, this is the role you have to get. So that will be coming from the HR. Then who is accountable for it, making the changes? So that will be the IT team. And then the confirmed, the user manager, the team member. So it can be this process. So the HR will say, okay, this user should have so-and-so control. Then the reporting authority of the employee will know, okay, his role is this, so I'm going to give these kind of responsibilities and access to him. So this will be communicated to the application owner to him to create an ID in the application, saying, okay, this user ID with this employee ID will have so-and-so access to the module or T codes. So all this will be done. Then only the whole circle is completed. So this is the RACI matrix. So this you can implement for anything. Because nowadays SLA agreements, the service level agreement, where the third parties, the outsourcing BPOs, what they do is they say, okay, we maintain your IT asset or IT incident management. So they give so-and-so RACI matrix. So say, okay, this is the responsibility for us. We are accountable for whatever incident tickets raised and resolved. But it will be confirmed or informed to you, stating, okay, these are the changes we have made. Because we are working on your data, you have to approve what we have to change. Without your approval, we won't do anything. So you go for anything. And even in IRDA, that regulation, cybersecurity regulation, the RACI matrix is given. Who should be like authorized or responsible for so-and-so things. If time permits, at the end I'll show the IRDA. Yeah, embedded in the guideline itself, sir. So this is what pertains to the policy that we have seen. So this is how it will be shown. So if you see here, this is the password master. So this is a password master, and you're going to change the password. And it says password policy. So based on the policy and the standards, this will be implemented. So this is how you can verify when people say, okay, we have implemented the password policy, whether it is effective or not. You can go into the system of a user and put in or change the password, whether seeing okay, all the policies are effective or not. Two ways you can check it, whether the password policy is implemented or not. You can take from the group master itself or the group policy. It will say, okay, these are things we have implemented. And you can go to the user system and try to change the password. Put up a wrong password or fully numbers, not alpha, only numbers you can put, whether that is allowing or not. So this is the secondary check we can have. Basically, a sample check we have to do. And if you see here, the password must not match last 3 password. Basically, you can't repeat it, because if someone knows that is your password and you're going to use it, that this password policy is not of any use. So certain companies will have 8 times or 6 times, depending on the intensity or criticality of the application. They should not use the last 3 passwords. We have seen this. And this is what is called as encryption. Like I told you, this is not readable format. Now it's not encryption, it's hashing. If you see here, it's hashing. So it is a 16-digit 32-bit character, which is a SHA, so secured algorithm. Secured hash algorithm, SHA-256. What it does is, like the encryption I told, the cryptography I told, you put a certain word and it will give out a anonymous version of certain things, which is a one-way encryption, meaning there is no key to decrypt it. I can show you an example. So whenever you put a password or something, the database stores in such a way, no one can read it. Even if they get access to the database level, your online PIN or your ATM PIN card, no one can see it. Even if it's a 4-digit PIN, it will be saving in the 16-digit only. I've taken some online tool. So I'll just say, I'm putting some random number. Say your ATM PIN card. Here, the algorithm is using is SHA-256. I hope everyone can see it. SHA-256 hash. So I'm putting the text here and say encrypt. If you see, even I'm putting only 4 digits. The encryption is in the standard format. So no one can decrypt it apart from the trial and error method, because there's no key to it. It's a one-way encryption. Let me just try that also. I'll copy this and say decrypted. It's saying could not be decrypted, because it's like a random game you have to follow. In case if someone have displayed or published a trial method saying okay, if this series of words or text is coming, say the 282 is coming repeatedly, then it means THE, the, or it could be A. So if someone has decrypted it, then only it can be decrypted here. Until and unless it's a one-way encryption. Even if you see the IT policy, it will say all the data should be encrypted. No one can have access to it.
Yes, sir. So do you mean to say that those people have not decrypted the password and stored in the database, or?
They are not using a much stronger algorithm, sir. Because all the companies doesn't have the wealth to do all those things. So because it should be embedded in the database or in the transit level itself. Because initially we have seen the confidentiality and integrity. It says in process and in transit and at state or at rest. Because at any point in time, your data should be encrypted. If you can't implement the technology, that's problematic. Because if you see WhatsApp, they can do it. It says end-to-end encrypted. No one can tamper with it. Even if they tamper with it, they won't be able to decrypt and read the message. And this is similar to what we spoke earlier, identity and access management. Similarly, you're going to a pub and it says like whether you are eligible or like whether you have crossed 18 years of age. So whether to get access, you have to show your ID, correct? So here if you see, it says role management. So the HR gives a role. So based on that, the access will be given. So here, this is the authentication, right? Authentication is your password. So in the CA triad, there is IAAA. IAAA basically means one thing is your identification. I'm identifying, okay, you are the same person or you are the email ID, you're telling so and so. Then another A is the authentication. IAAA, so I is the identification of the person. Whether you are in the domain or not, whether you are in the system and your ID is created or not. Then it will be the authentication. Authentication basically means your password. It's whether it is correct or not. And the other ultimate thing is MFA. The second A is, in the three A's, one is the authentication, other is the authorization. Authorization basically means for this role, for your ID, these are the modules you have access to. Whether you are authorized to access this data or not. And then is the accountability. Why? Because there are concept of generic IDs. Meaning, I'll be using the same ID and I'll be giving my credentials to you for using it. So that is called as generic ID. Or it won't be assigned to me. Any person can use in the organization. What is the problem in this? The single ID, I can't afford anything, so I'm using the same ID for everything. What is the problem we are seeing here? Correct. So which person has made what changes? We don't know. So we want accountability. That is the third A. So IAAA. I is identification, which user is asking for the access. Second is the authentication, whether such user have the password with him and the OTP or any multi-factor authentication. And then the authorization, whether he is authorized to access the system or not, or access this type of module. Then is accountability. So this is called as identity and access management. And now we come to the network access. So we have seen two layers so far. One is the physical layer and then is the access layer. So access management, what we are giving. Now we are coming to the network layer. So this is the network I have been speaking about. So we know this is a LAN basically. So we have a system. This is the client server, basically called as client server, because there is a server which serves to the clients, like a tea shop vendor or a hotel. So you go, you order something, the server comes and serves it to you. So same follows here. So you ask a request, okay? So you ask for database of vendors, purchase orders, invoices. So this server will be giving you the details. So it's always a request and response. So I'm requesting for something, you have to give me that. So that's why this is called as client here. It can be application you're installed in the system or in the web banner, where you use the www. So what will happen is, the web architecture I want to tell you. So first of all, we'll have the ID, address, okay, website address. So that website address will be translated because we can't remember the IP addresses. Similar to the telephone directory few years back. We can't remember all the passwords. What we do, we save with the name or from where we have met them, okay. So depending on that, we put the website address, then it goes to the DNS, domain name server. It translates the website address into the IP address. So based on which the web server can be accessed. So this is the hierarchy. So your website, the website will be hosted in the web server. Then the web server will be connected to the application server, and then the application server will access the database. You can't directly access it. So that's what is shown here. From the browser, you go to the web server, and then the application server will go to the database management server. So this, I want to give a brief intro. This is how our architecture network will be. So here if you see, this is a normal network, the LAN network. So I've given, so you are a new employee, I've given the domain access to you. basically meaning there is an authentication server, which is called as Active Directory. I'll add your domain ID or a mail ID to the Active Directory in the authentication server stating this employee is in the domain, allow him so-and-so access. So say I'm using this desktop. I'm putting in my NT ID or network ID in it, and it goes to the authentication server asking for whether this employee is in the domain or not. So once that is done, I can have access to the file server or database server or any other servers in the network. So that's how this works. And we all know, like, currently we work in hybrids mostly, either work from home or office. So if you're in work from home, in banks, they won't allow you to use your personal Wi-Fi until a VPN is there. What a VPN is? Virtual private network, because we have 3 networks. We have seen the internet, right? So that is a wide area network. And this is a intranet, which is only accessible by the organization inside the company. So that is called as LAN, local area network. Now, what VPN does is, VPN is giving a tunnel or a private access to the intranet or your LAN by using internet. So if you see here, this is your laptop from your home. So using the VPN, any application or software, what they do is they create a tunnel to the internal network via the internet. So if anyone tries to tamper with it, they can't able to see what data you are being moved. So that is what VPN does. Here the structure will be same, only the VPN access will be given to the routers for authenticating with the server. This is kind of technical, but this is how the architecture is. Whenever you go for an audit, if you are in the IT audit in the future, we have to ask for the architecture, IT architecture and network architecture. Because this is the network architecture, which shows you, okay, which system is connected to what. Because based on which you can know what kind of IP address are there, what I have to see. Because there are 3 domains or like environments. One is the production, which is a customer facing or which is the primary application or database I'll be using. Another is a UAT. I think you would have heard the UAT term, user acceptance testing. So whenever new joining comes or a new application is rolled out, what they'll do is they bring in the business expert and they have to work on it depending on the test criteria or a base test. So once that is done, then only the application will be deployed in the production environment. And there is a development. So you have to develop it in one environment, which is independent of these 2. And then you put it in the UAT for the user to test it and say, okay, this is my requirement and this is fulfilled, I'm going to take it. And then you move it from the UAT to the production environment. So that will be called as deployment. So once it is deployed, you have to see whether it is working properly or not. And you should have a backup, which is called as versioning and patch management. Because in case, it's like similarly, we have a balance sheet versions. So you put a financial statement and make whole lot of changes and feel, okay, I shouldn't have made the change. There's no version to go back. So you have to make a version saying like, I'm going to make a change, a huge change, which is going to change the P&L or the profit like by 5 to 10%. So what I have to do, I have to create a newer version. Say version 2 I've done, so I'm going to put it in a version 3. So in case if version 3 doesn't work out, I have to go back to version 2. That is called as versioning and patch management. So whenever you go for a production, you will have a version as a backup in some repository. So if this doesn't work out, you have to go back, roll back. Okay? So this I just want to show the access, how the user is getting. And in the application level itself, there is 2 interfaces or 2 ends. One is the front end, one is the back end. Has any of you heard of it? So what will be the back end, sir? Oh, no, sir. In the application level itself, I'm saying there's a front end and a back end. Yes, sir. Kind of different, sir, because back end of application is where you develop the software. So basically the interfaces, the graphical user interface like you told, if I'm saying to select OK or save, I need a button. So that all these changes will be done at the back end level. So we are seeing the front end. So this will be more like understood in the web servers or web applications. So you're going to create a website for your company or an organization or your like hobby. So what you'll do is you go to WordPress or Wix or any website manufacturer like a creator. you go and put in your content. So that'll be a backend. You feel, okay, this is my company name, this is the addresses, or these are the tabs I should have in my home. And then these are the articles which is getting published, similar to the CA firm ka website. So you can create it from the backend, which will be displayed in the front end to the user. So that's why we call it as user interface. But what we see in the back will be different. Initially, it was a whole lot of coding. Even to make a button, you have to type in a lot of code, asking, okay, this is the square I need, and this is the text inside the square, and this is the color I want. But now it is everything is, programmable, or like easy pick and drop. So you have a element, you take it and put it in the placeholder, and you enter whatever you want. Similar Canva. I think you would have used Canva. Similar to that, you can create a website. So that's what I called as backend and a front end. This is a different backend. So like you told, sir, backend is the database level. But at the application level also, there's a front end and a backend. And now we come to the change management. Like I told, so these are the process. So first of all, there is a business requirement. If you see, there is a change request. So initiate change request. So at the level of change request, we'll see whether it is technically feasible. So if someone wants, I want a report being generated from the system, so then you have to see whether it is technically feasible or not. Then you go for the functional, whether you can handle it financially. So then the change request will be approved. And then the development. The IT team will develop according to the specification or requirement of the business team. So this will be done in the development environment. So the development environment will have a whole lot of different structure. Say the application and the server and database. The UAT will also have the application, server and database. So it should mimic your production environment, because until and unless you don't know what works in a development environment will work in a production or not. So all the system should be replicated and all the system should be updated. So once the development is done, you have to change it to the test environment. So here you will do the testing. It can be any different type of testing, unit testing, meaning you take one particular module and make an entry or do a calculation, or integration testing. You see how you're making changes here and it's getting impacted at the final report level. So that can be integration testing. And final is the user acceptance testing. You go and put, say, it is a payment and you are putting -200. Should it work? Exactly. So you can do all lot of test scenarios, putting it in, okay, negative or decimal or even 4 decimals, whether it is accepting or not. So all those things will be done in the UAT level. So once the acceptance sign-off is done, which will be deployed. This is the implementation. The quality assurance review will be done and implementation of change will be done. So finally, you will be testing it for ensuring whether it is working properly or not. Because certain cases, you publish or put it in the production environment and customers are facing a lot of issues. So that's why the penalties has come to the banks. So this is the format for change management. So this is how a request should be given, saying okay, these are the changes I want, or even the change management can be saying you are modifying your user access. So initially the user doesn't have so-and-so module access. He's in a marketing department, he doesn't have access to it all. Or he only had a, say expensing, you have to update his own expenses. Now you want to put in a different lot of expenditures. So what we have to do is, you have to give him an elevated access or a different role. So what this can be done is, you will say, I need the user access role or access to T codes for this user. So once you give that, and it should be approved by the respective HOD, the reporting authority. And then that will be implemented by the IT team, and then this final sign-off will be done. So the change management is not just for the development, it can also be for the IT infrastructure changes. You're changing the architecture altogether. You're not just developing a software, saying it was only one layer of software before. Now you're adding 2 layers. Because say you're filing GST, so initially you're using it, doing it manually. Now you're putting a tool in between to do it automatically. So now you're just adding one architecture to it. Even that is also change management. So everything will be covered in change management process. And like we spoke, the incident management, your SLA agreement and the turnaround time. So all this should go through this process. All this can be done in a ticketing management tool. Meaning you have a tool in place where the employees can highlight what is the issues they are facing. Say their mouse is not working, or display is not working. What they can do is they put in a different ID in different system and say, okay, this system number in this floor and this user ID is not working properly. So this will be going, the incident will be identified and will be logged in the system, in the ticketing management tool, and which will be categorized, because you don't need to categorize depending on the problem given, because there should be a list of problems given, saying like it will be ID problem or a mouse problem or a login problem. So it will be categorized depending on the information policy and the criticality. And then the prioritization will happen. If it is a user access login problem, the priority will be depending on which type of user it is or which department it is. So depending on that, this will be given and response. The IT team person will address it and resolve it accordingly. If he can't do it, he have to diagnose and escalate it to a whole lot of different team where they will go for the root cause analysis. What was the problem happening? And then, so the resolution recovery will be done and the ticket will be closed. Once the ticket is closed only, all the process is completed. So here what we can do is, during an audit, we can see the SLAs. So SLAs will give a clear-cut idea, or the policy, incident management policy itself. There will be escalation matrix, which will say for these type of problems, you have to address or mail to so-and-so persons after getting approval from the reporting authorities. And then once that is done, you can see, okay, what are the TAT we have achieved? Say the TAT, average TAT should be 2.5 hours, but we have achieved 3 hours. So what was the problem? What was happening? So then you can implement a whole lot of changes depending on this analysis. And then what you can do is, apart from the TAT, you can see what kind of incidents are done repeatedly. Say the employee, the particular employee is putting wrong password for multiple times. So apart from other users are taking only 1 or 2 times in a year. This guy is coming and asking for 10 times. I've logged my account, please reset it. So what could be the reasons? So you can see for the anomalies in this also. Because you can think whether this guy is giving his credentials to other person to log in and put the credentials. Because our password we know, but him will have to put it properly. If he's not doing it correct, the account will be logged. So these kind of thoughts or like analysis can be done in this incident management. So we are just now covered ITGC. So in the initial slide, I have shown you the scopes, 6 scope. ITGC, ITAX, business continuity management, network access, and data migration and IS audit. So here we have just covered ITGC. So because ITGC will cover a whole lot of areas, because a physical area is more problematic now, because now we have moved into data cloud. We don't know where the data is getting stored. So this is so much critical. Now we are moving into the IT automated control. So automated control, we have seen the physical aspect. Now we are moving into the digital aspect. So this process will explain you, these are the stakeholders who will be using the applications. It can be a customer facing application, it can be a bank teller, it can be a accountant, it can be a finance aspect, or it can be a marketing person. So everyone is using the applications, depending on what department, what nature of application they're using. Then this is the data input. What kind of data it can accept? This is called as data validation. We would have seen it in Excel. So there's an option called as data validation. So it says you can set a criteria. In this column, you have to input only numbers for amount column. And in date column, you can say it's a short date. You have to only accept dates. Or in a pan, you can say alphanumeric, but the length should be 10. So these are the data validation criteria you can give. And the data input verification should have that. So there's a whole lot of check you can do. And you can put a test criteria also. In the short date, you can say, okay, long date. Short date meaning 2024, 2025. Or you just put 25. In the long date, you have to put 2025. So you can do that kind of checks to see whether the data input validation is strong or effective. And then the data processing. So what does the data processing means here? I put in a data. Say I have to calculate my TDS or tax. I put in the data. How will I know it is calculating correctly or not? So what can I do to ensure the system is working appropriately or in a correct way in which I want it? Exactly, that's the one thing we can do. Because nowadays, all the bank systems are embedded, meaning it's all the logics are coded in the system itself. You can't go and see it. It's called a source code. No company will share their source code to the customers or any auditors for that matter. So what we have to do is, we have to recompute initially. And also, depending on the category. So it could be FD, or it could be RD, or it could be SB account. So depending on what nature of account, what logic they wanted. So they'll say, okay, this is the methodology it should be computing. Because in certain criteria, investment, treasury and all, the year days in a year will be 360 or 365 depending on the market it's dealing in. So all those things can be or should be recomputed in the data processing. And the data output, you have to see, okay, this is the template or this is the kind of output I want from the system. So you can see this is a whole lot of things we have to see in the IT automation control. Basically input, processing and output. The processing is a key aspect here. Here also you can see in the IT automation control also, we call it as application review. Here also you will see the user access management. Because IT general controls will be physical access controls. Here this will be logical controls. So again, you have to see, okay, whether this employee has certain kind of roles, whether he can make or check, or whether he can approve, or there is the access control matrix, whether these are the threshold I am giving for this role or a description. So if he is crossing it, if he crosses, what will happen? Because in treasury and all, there is called as deal limit. Meaning deal limit, one dealer can only make a deal of 1 million INR. If he crosses it, whether the system allows it or not. Similar to what are the bank payments we are handling. Say a cashier or like a payment in charge should do only 50,000, whether he can cross it or not. If the system allows it, it's called a soft warning. The soft warning should also or always be accompanied by a approval from the superior. Because how will we know? As per the authorization matrix, ACM, it says this user or this role will have only so-and-so level of authority, 50,000. He is crossing it. So we have to see whether it is a hard control or a soft control. So hard control meaning if you put 50,001, the system won't allow you to pay it or process it. If you put 50,000, allow it. If you're putting 50,001 and it is allowing, so there should be compensatory control or approval from the in charge or the reporting authority. So this is not just the IT environment. I am saying it is the IT system you have to see. Because if you only focus on this, then we leave out on the policies. So this should also embed everything. And if you see here in the processing, it should consider the data preparation. The audit tail should be there, which user is accessing what, and which user had made what changes. And the policy and procedures, what we discussed in the earlier slides, that should also be incorporated here. And the interface control, this is more critical in nowadays because the RBI says everything should be straight through processing. Nothing should be manually intervened. So lot more APIs and interfaces, middlewares, all those things are coming in place. Because if I want to upload a bulk report, I can make a bank teller or a officer to enter all those details. So what I can do is I can make a Excel and upload it. But I shouldn't do it manually because it's easily like editable. So what you can do is there is a source system and there is a destination system. You put an interface, automated interface, which is called as application programming interface. So what it does is it fetches the data from the source system and it maps it or massages it. Meaning, because your customer ID could have a heading in a different way, because in Power BI we know the headers are different. So what we have to do is, here will be an employee ID, here will be a EID. So the name of the column will be different. So what the API will do is it fetches the data from here and it remaps to the destination IDs or the column names. So then the data will be massaged properly and then it will be uploaded in the destination system. So this is the most important control that we have to see in the automated control aspect, apart from data processing. Because data processing is critically important, we want the system to operate in a certain way that we want it to be. And then the interface control, because whenever I'm sending a data, the 100% data should be forwarded or moved to the destination system. If there is any lapse in that or any mismatch in that, we have to rectify it. So now we have to go into the interface control. So we need programmers or coders to see what is the logic or rule written in it. All the banks have agents in place to move the data from one system to another system. So we can't see which data is moving. We only know the final report. There will be a report from the source application and there will be a report from the destination application. And there is a master file maintenance, which is a critical aspect. Can you take a 5 minutes break? Yeah, any doubts, please ask. So here, like I told, these are the aspects we have to cover to ensure the data processing and the data integrity is safe and secure. If you see the outer area, it says about the technology infrastructure. This is the ITGC components what we spoke so far. So whenever the data is being handled here, it should be backed up and it should be able to recover the time of need. And the security of sensitive information. Like sir told, all the sensitive information should be masked right now, like the Aadhaar numbers, your card numbers, everything, all the pins. So encryption and hashing technology will be covered here. So this is your ITGC aspect. So this is similar to what we spoke in the development side for the change management. So this is critical because at any point in time, you can know what kind of risk I will have. So even designing a system, you know what are the security requirements, what will be the threat modeling, or like what kind of threat can be there for your application whenever using it, because you know what will be the user, what domains it will be hosted in, and what kind of data you will be handling there. So here in the design level, you have to be crucial and what kind of compliances you have to follow, like the Aadhaar masking. So all the Aadhaar numbers should be encrypted and only the 4 digits should be visible. And this is the critical aspect, but we never spoke about it in our audits. The backup and disaster recovery. We say we have all the data digitally, but at a point in time, if it goes wrong or if it breaks down, what will happen then? Say you have a loyalty points or reward points. Whenever you are purchasing using a credit card or you go to a supermarket, you go and purchase for every 100 rupees, you're getting 1 points, reward points. So at the end of the year, you can encash it. Then like at the end of the year, you're going to the supermarket and the market owner says, my system is down, I can't access your data or your data is lost. So if it is a bank, it's even more critical because there'll be a whole lot of complaints coming up or like cases coming up. There is a agreement between them saying like, okay, for every purchase, for everything, I'll get a reward. So what if the reward gets lost? So there should be a mechanism in place where all these data should be backed up and it should be recovered properly at a point in time. So it starts with your purpose and scope. So what is the system you're using and what you're using for? And you have to define the risk. What are the possible risks that it could have? And all those things, BCDR, the backup, the business continuity and disaster recovery starts with the BIA, business impact analysis. So you do a business impact analysis saying or like looking at what will happen if this application goes down. Say there is a treasury application in a bank. So where all the investments, all the hedging activities, everything takes place, the market interactions. So if that goes down, your investment goes down, investment value goes down, or any point of your security or your liquidity goes down. So that will be the impact. If this application goes down, I'll be making a huge loss on it. So you will define the maximum tolerable downtime or loss here. So once a business impact analysis is done, 3 things will be clear. One will be the maximum tolerable downtime. So this is the time within which I can handle loss. Say if my customer facing application, my mobile banking is down for an hour, I'll only make so and so loss. So that much I can handle or absorb by my P&L. So what I'll do is I'll create 2 things. One is a RTO and a RPO. What is the recoverable time objective? I'll repeat it, recoverable time objective, RTO, and RPO, recoverable point objective. Basically meaning my maximum tolerable downtime is 2 hours. So I'll do a RPO of less than 2 hours. The recovery point objective is even if I'm not backing up for the past 2 hours, I can handle the loss. But more than that, I can't handle it. So what I'll do is I'll reduce my recovery time objective. So I'm not backing up. Initially, I'm backing up for every 2 hours. So once the system is down, till 2 hours, I'll be able to absorb the losses. That is my maximum tolerable downtime. Then I'll try to recover it. Within what time? Say like my system goes down by 1 p.m. So I have to recover it within another 2 hours for not to lose any more data. So my minimum will be 1 hour. Within 1 hour, my system should be back up online. So that will be my recovery time objective. The least amount of time that I'll be taking to get my system online for the customers to use it. So these are the critical aspects you will be taking care in the BIA, Business Impact Analysis. I'll repeat it, RTO and RPO, recovery point objective, where you will say this is the maximum period I can handle or absorb the loss, and recovery time objective, RTO, within which I have to get my system backup online. Okay, and what banks does is mostly it'll have a odd spot or a odd site of backup. So once my main server goes down, it automatically boots up the other system. Because my customer should not face any disturbances, my business will get lost. So that is the care they are taking. And this is a business impact analysis where you will define all the backup plans. If my backup policy says once in 3 hours I backup, where my maximum tolerable time is 2 hours only. That means I can absorb the losses only for 2 hours. But my policy says I only backup once in 3 hours. Is there a clash between that? Because I have to take a loss more than my maximum tolerable limit. So the policies and this should be matching. And I have to do a review stating if in case my system goes down, within what time I am getting it back up online. So all those things we have to review it. So, and there is a disaster recovery plan. So basically what it means is operational, you have an operational risk. You have to diversify it. And I heard this story saying a father and son of a organization who is the owner don't travel in the same car because they want to diversify. Even if one of them dies, another has to survive and take care of the company. So you have to diversify. What you'll do is, you have the entire operation system or the production system elsewhere. So meaning all the banks will have this, and once in 3 months, they'll go for the DR drill. Basically what it means is I have application here. This is my original place of business. I have application here. I have all the systems in place, all the configuration in place. And I have a disaster recovery in Chengalpet, the ICA branch. So if this goes down, I have to go there and operate in the same way like I do it on a day-to-day basis for a business as usual activity, BAU activity. So that's what disaster recovery means. In case of any problems, I have to do my business or continue my business in the same way like I do it. So that's what DR comes into. So DR for banks is at least once in a year they have to do a DR drill. Meaning I have to shut down all my original servers, original customer facing application, and I have to boot up my DR servers for it to work, to know, okay, in case of problem, my DR still works and all the applications are up to date, all the patches are up to date, all the user access management are up to date. Backup doesn't mean only data. You do a WhatsApp configuration or you take a backup of data from WhatsApp whenever you're migrating phone, correct? So that only takes care of messages. Sometimes it takes photos, it asks you, what are the backup you want? Whether you want image backup or video backup or only just message backup. You can give an option. So similarly, banks can also give an option, but it should not. It should have all the configuration in place. Even a configuration, why I say configuration is, I'm giving an access role to an employee, which is given in the application itself. If my system goes down, I just have the data, I don't have the configuration. How long it will take me to give the access roles to every employee? That's not possible. So what I have to do is I have to take the backup of the configuration also. Configuration basically meaning, for this application, this is the Active Directory, these are the roles I have defined in the application. For these roles, these are the T codes or these are the modules which they can access. So all those configuration file should also be backed up. And whatever DR I'm taking or whatever backup I'm taking, once a year, I have to restore it. Because I'm not sure whether the backup will work or not. So these two are different things. So backup is different, business continuity is different, DR is different. So backup basically means I'm taking all the data and putting in a different place. DR says I have a same setup as my original operation. So in case this goes down, I'll go there and use the DR. All the system infrastructure will be there. So in such a case, I can take the backup what I have taken and put it in the DR site and work as such. So and there is a multiple types of data backup. So it can be full backup, meaning all the data in my storage device, say your hard disk or phone, everything will be backed up. Or it can be only differential backup. Differential backup basically meaning you have done a full backup 1 month back. So all the data on a day-to-day basis will be added to the full backup. It won't be merged, it will be added. So at the time of restoration, you can do a full restoration. And the third will be incremental backups. Incremental backup basically means on a day-to-day basis, what are the modification or changes you made to the file. So only that changes will be backed up. I'll repeat the 3 backup. One is a full backup. So all the data will be backed up on a day-to-day basis. And there is a incremental backup. So I have done a differential backup. I've done a full backup, and then what are the additions I've made, I'll do it on a day-to-day basis. And there is incremental backup. On a daily basis, I'll add the data to the original ones. And bank does in such a way, depending on the application criticality. So why I'm saying criticality again is, only if you feel this system is critical, you have to put a whole lot of measures and you put a whole lot of investment onto it. If it's not giving any return on investment, it's waste of money and time or any resource to be that formatter. So the banks or any companies, what they will do is, they categorize their application, say tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, or critical, non-critical, or below critical. So these kind of things will be there. So based on that, these kind of measures will be implemented them in the application level. So these 3 backups, how they will be doing is, on a daily backup, the incremental backup will be taken. On a weekly backup, a full backup will be taken. So on the day of full backup, all my individual backups will be deleted. Once if they confirm, okay, my backup is working properly, I can restore it. And at the end of the month, what they do is they take the full backup, and the weekly backup will be deleted. So because just to save storage, I don't want to keep all the data in my place. I just want the essential data and the full data at the time of necessary. So firstly, I'll do the daily backup, and then the weekly backup of full data. I'll delete the daily data backups, and then I'll do the full month card daily full backup, and then I'll delete the weekly backups. So this can vary depending on the organization, application, and the need of the business. And then the training and education for the IT team and also for the business team, because the business team is the one who is using the system. So the DR drill will work for them also. So all the people will go to the DR site and they'll work as usual. So if I'm giving access control here, the access control should also be there. And if I'm giving a certain module access to here, it should also be there. So it not works only for the IT infrastructure, it also works for the business infrastructure. And now we're moving into the network security. So now we know how internet works. So it's a network of networks. So what we are seeing here is, this is the internet. So the data or request or traffic can come from any place into your internal network. So what will happen if you're allowing all the networks? You know the day when the ICA results are declared, the system goes down, right? Because the server crashes. It can't handle a lot of requests. On a daily basis or a particular point in time, you are giving 1,000 requests, it can handle. What if 1 lakh or 2 lakh people are requesting her? So the server goes down. So what this will do is, or there is another mechanism called as load balancer. So the load balancer, what it does is, it says it creates a virtual IPs. So if I have a 3 server, active server in the production environment, what I'll do is, this request, I'll divide it into 3 servers. So you serve these requests, you serve these requests. Say the 1 lakh requests, I have 4 servers. What I'll do is, I'll split it into 25,000, 25,000, 25,000. So this load balancer will create a virtual IP and send it to those servers. So depending on that, the request will be accessed. Because think about the transactions in a bank environment. At a particular point in time, or a fraction of a second, it could be crores of transactions. Everyone is paying now. UPI, GPay, everything. So how it is handling? Because of load balancers. And in case there's no load balancer, the server goes down. Then the hacker or perpetrator can go into the system. Because the server is down, it doesn't have any guards in place. So that's where the firewall comes into picture. So what it does is, it sees, okay, what kind of traffic is coming in and whether it is a malicious activity or not. So in case there is a spike in the activity, say you're downloading a 8 MB data, a file, but the activity or the data it requires is 80 MB. It's 10 times more than your requirement. So it captures that. So all those things will be done at the firewall level itself. So it controls the traffic and then pushes only the allowable traffic into your network, just to protect your IT infrastructure. So this is the purpose of firewall. And then there is a term called as DMZ, demilitarized zone. So because in banks and most of the companies have a customer facing application, and which is basically a website. A hacker could easily hack a website if there is a vulnerability. So what they'll do is, they create 2 firewalls between the internet and your intranet. Sorry, internet and your intranet. So whenever request comes in, it sits in the server. Because you're placing a server in such a way, there are two firewalls. Any malicious activity will be blocked there, and then only certain requests will be sent here. That's what I told the quarantine mails. You're getting sponsored mails, spam mails. What it does is, it comes from the internet, this filter is out, it says, okay, it's not malicious, but it could be spam. So your mail server captures it and puts it in a quarantine area. Once you give saying approval, okay, you can allow it, then only it moves into your system. So that's where the DMC comes into place. So wherever customer facing or a public facing domain is created, DMC is really critical for you to arrest all those malicious activities. And this is what we call as access control list. So firewalls will have two things. One is the rules. Second is the access control list. Rules define what kind of activity can be there. There is two types. One is a whitelisting and a blacklisting. Similarly, like the example I gave earlier, you can't access YouTube or any Facebook or any site for that matter. So these are called as blacklisting. You can't use any of this. So that's what, or you can use only particular aspects. That's what called as whitelisting. Say out of those multiple websites, I'm saying, okay, you can use Google, you can use Microsoft Office or Outlook. This is called as whitelisting. You can actively use it. Blacklisting it, you can't use those sites. So I'm giving a negative list. If I give a negative list, you can't use those sites, that is blacklisting. If I'm giving, you can use this list, that is called as whitelisting. So that will be configured in the rule level. This is the access control list level. This works in the transport layer or the network layer. I have told you about the OSI layer, the network model. So if you see here, the TCP, this is the transfer protocol. So what it says is, permit TCP from telnet, that is the intercom, or permit TCP, this type of protocol. This will be the source IP, this will be the destination IP for FTP. FTP is file transfer protocol. You have file server, so you're moving from source destination to, like a source application to destination application. So that is a file transfer protocol. What the agents will do is, in banks, he'll fetches the data from the source application and puts it in a server. That is a file transfer server or a file server. So from there, the agent will pick the files and put it in the destination server. So basically, it will be like this. I have a source application and there is a server here, file server. So my application will generate the report and put it in the server. My agent, what he'll do is, he'll pick up the file from here and move it to another file folder, which is a file server. From that, the agent will upload the detail into the destination folder. So that's how that works, agents. So similarly here, so this is access control list, which it says, these are the communication you can allow, these are the communication you can't allow. You see here, source IP and destination IP. And you have to block it. And there is a protocol given, and there is a destination IP. Whatever is coming under this protocol, you can allow. So this we can see, but there is a lot of technicalities into it. You can just read about the OSI model, the transfer protocols, and the ports. Your ports are basically meaning you have a USB port or Ethernet port. Similarly, for an application to work, it will ask for a port, or it will use a certain criteria, say HTTP or HTTPS or a FTP. So HTTP will have a 80 or 808. Basically meaning these are the port I will use to access a website or something. Those are called as URL encoding or port numbers. And this is the Windows firewall you can create in your own system itself. So these are the rules. If you see, for an inbound rule or an outbound rule, it's not just for any traffic coming in, it also works for any traffic going out. It's like a policy stating you can't send mails out of the domain to outside a mail. So if you do that, that's an outbound rule. So all those things can be defined here. And this is really critical at the time of audit, because in certain cases, the IT person will do or disable a port. Because they'll say, I can't upload a GST file or I can't file any JSONs. So what they do is they'll disable a port. Then what will happen? Someone can use a port to come in. So this is a critical aspect in our IS audits. And this is a USB disabling port. Or basically you are disabling a port because you don't want the employees or users to access any data from the system. If you go to any MSCs or a banking, what they'll say is, these ports are disabled, you can't do anything. Even if you can't put any earphones, you can't put any pen drive. because my data is inside, I don't want anyone to take out of it, because I have a policy in email stating this should not go out if it has certain criteria. Similarly, I don't want any physical control also, or physical access also. So what I'm doing is saying edit sensitive data leak prevention for USB. Here I've given a control saying block all external storage devices. So if I put anything, it'll say it's not recognizable, or it won't give any output at all, or no response will be there, because I have disabled the ports. And this can be done either in the firewall or in the antivirus also. Antivirus will also show what are the endpoints you put in. I'll come to the slide later. So this will say, this is the firewall, this is the network, and in a firewall setup, you have to categorize or like list down what are the IPs you have. Basically meaning what are the endpoints. Endpoints are your laptop, desktop, servers, routers, switches, all those things. You have to list down, okay, whenever a network or a traffic is coming in and out of these IPs, you have to restrict and comply with those rules. So then only this firewall will be active and it will be restricting all those things. And there are these two concepts in the firewall itself, which is a intrusion prevention system and intrusion detection system. What prevention does is basically, before it enters your network itself, it stops it. So whenever a malicious request is coming in, at the request level itself, it doesn't reach your internal network, so it stopped the request here itself. But if you see the detection system, the firewall has let the access in. So the IDS will now detect it and will ask you for what kind of action you want to take. That is the difference between IDS and IPS. And the antivirus. Now antivirus. So similar to firewall is for the network activities. So this covers a whole lot of other things. Whenever you are downloading a file from a mail, or you're downloading any software from the internet, so that won't be covered by the firewall. So what antivirus does is, it detects a virus based on the library it has. So whenever you purchase a antivirus software, the company will update its library on a day-to-day basis, just like blacklisting of any customers in a bank. So once you do it, so whenever you receive any file or data, it'll scans it and say, okay, this looks like malicious thing, and it quarantines the file. So once it quarantines the file, the user has to take action whether you have to clear the file or delete it. So because antivirus also do a thing where it clears the file and recovers the data from it, or else you have to delete it. And I've usually done, whenever I want to download a game from a network or a soft genie, I'll switch off the antivirus and it'll say, if you have the antivirus on and if you download the file, it'll say it's corrupt or malicious. It won't allow you at all. But if you want to switch it off and then only you have download it. Now your phone also has a feature saying, don't install any untrusted apps. Because now we have a lot of cracked apps, like for Spotify and all. So that can be done, but it's better not to do it because it could be malicious. We don't know what is the source code, what kind of access we are giving to the application. So once the file is quarantined and threat is identified, you can clear it and then you can use the data. And similarly, for online security, like I told, whenever you're installing from any data from the file, from the mail folder or from the internet, the antivirus will scan it and then only it will allow you. And for the port disability, whenever you are allowing someone to use a USB, because whenever auditor comes, they say we can't share the data because it's huge, and we can't give you access to the file server also. So what they do is, you give a USB and we'll transfer the data to it and we'll give the data. So what then they can do is, they have to disable the port for a particular endpoint. There will be a 200 or 250 systems, 200 to 250 IPs. So what they can do is, they can disable one IP. And before connecting the USB, they can have an isolated system for testing whether there is a virus in the pen drive or not. Then they scan it and then they put it in the IP on the main system to transfer the data. Once that is done, they can disable the port. So all these things will be going to the incident management or change management only. You have to give a request and then someone has to give an approval, okay, you can do it for this purpose. And then once that request is completed, that disabling of USB should be happening again. If you are letting the USB open, someone can use it and someone can inject a virus into the system. So this process should be carried out, and what we do is, we check for these kind of functions in the antivirus software, saying what are the endpoints connected to it. Meaning, if I have 250 systems, and all the systems should be updated by the antivirus latest version to have a security patch properly. But in certain cases, what they tell is, certain applications are not connected to the internet at all. So they'll say we are not connected to the antivirus because it's not internet facing, why should we do it? But there's a problem where the internal employee can inject a virus in the system. So it's better to have antivirus in that case also. And like you would have seen the news stating like where the Windows 10 support will be stopped in October 2025. So what will be the problem if you keep on using it? I know people who keep on still using 2007. Because the Microsoft stopped the security support. Yeah, so there's no security at all. At the time in where like cyber threats are more popular than ever, so they are stopping the support even if you keep on still using it just because your legacy system could only support 2007. So that's a problem. That's what they say. We don't connect it to the internet, we keep it as a separate network. So in such a case, this firewall won't be applicable or antivirus won't be applicable. So that aspect we have to see. So first of all, you have to see what are the list of systems you have. So IT asset you have to take a IT asset register. And then you have to take the licenses, number of licenses and endpoints connected to it. So then you'll know, okay, what are the systems available and why these systems are not connected to it. Even a server can be connected to an antivirus because my data is getting stored there. In case I'm letting access to persons, a physical access, they can connect easily a USB to the server and then they can use it. So what I have to do is I have to add a server also to the antivirus protocol or rule saying you have to disable that port also. Even if I'm wrongfully giving access, physical access to the server room. So this will be able to disable it. And a quick question. Can we have a water sprinkler in server rooms in case of fire? Can we have a water sprinkler in the server rooms in case of fire? No, definite no. So there are, yeah, powder is also a problem because even a dust can impact the motherboard. So what there are alien gases or inert gases they say. So in case of fire, the inert gases will go off and then it will save the servers. If not, everything will go to waste. So I don't want to take this because it's too complicated right now. So cybersecurity, I'll just give an intro. So cybersecurity is part of network security because at the firewall level, you know what is the traffic coming in and coming out. So what the cybersecurity basic thing is, you have to do a VAPT testing, vulnerability assessment and penetration testing. So all these things are mandated right now. So if you see the SEBI regulation, you have to do vulnerability assessment once in every 6 months and you have to do a penetration testing once in a year. Just to ensure, okay, all those things, because all the applications or all the web applications are customer facing right now and anyone can access to it. So you have to do it mandatorily. So in vulnerability assessment, what we do is we use tools to assess, okay, where are the loopholes in the system or in the application level or the infrastructure level. Once we find the vulnerability, we have to categorize it as exploitable, non-exploitable. Exploitable basically meaning there is an opening, there's a car window is open and there is a dog. So it's exploitable. You can take any article, but there's a dog. So what does mean? You have a compensating control inside. So this is non-exploitable. If there's no dog inside the car, you can take any article. So that is exploitable. So you have to identify whether the vulnerability is exploitable or non-exploitable. Depending on the categorization, you do a pen test. Or two categories also you can do a pen test. Meaning you make any type of like request or any type of malicious threat to see, okay, whether the system breaks down or not. Once you identify it, you give a report stating, okay, these vulnerabilities are exploitable, these vulnerabilities are not exploitable. So that's what we do in VAPT. And these are the tools you can use for what parameters. Say like the Wireshark, you can use for auditing password and packet sniffers. So whenever I'm sending packets or like data from one system to another system, I can use that software to see, okay, whether can I, because it will have embedded templates to test the network. Okay, whether can I capture any data in the transit. So that will do that. And in the Nmap, it will scan for vulnerabilities in the website. And also for the internet or intranet. You have a like a basic network in your office. So you have 10 systems connected. You'll see whether you can access other system or you can move any data from there to here. So all those things, these tools will be like in-depth can be learned. So you start off with like Wireshark and Metasploit and Nmap. So this will give an idea how to do a VABD testing and where you can move forward with it. Mostly, sir. No. You have to inform them.
Will they give you permission to do it? Allow you to do this?
Of course, sir.
Or is it that in the software will have to be purchased by the customer, installed in the system so that...
No, sir. They won't expect that because they want you to have the tools in place. So what we can do is we can just give a disclaimer. We are using so-and-so tools. So in case if we find a vulnerability, it could be exploitable, and which is a problematic also. If they are okay with that, we go ahead and do it, or else we have to take up a like premium version of software and then do it. I hope that answers your question. And like there is a thing of data migration, because we know like many companies or banks move from like legacy system to newer systems. Say like you have in Tally and you want to move to Oracle now or SAP or Zogo Books. So the migration is a bigger headache. So I'll just go into the stages right now. And these are the types of migration that we can do. One is application migration, like I told, from one application to another application. Then is a database migration, because you are moving from Amazon Web Services to your own data center or a different database, MySQL or MSQL. So you are moving from the different database migration. So you want to know what are the sources available and what are the data I'm keeping in one database and where I want to move it. And how I want to move it, how I should maintain it. And data center migration, like I told, AWS to Google or any other data center, or service provider migration also. And these are the scopes and objectives we have. So one thing is, what are the migrated records and what are the source records? So say like initially you had 100 records, but you know 20 records are redundant. You don't want it to move it to the destination or the new source. So what you'll do is you cleanse it in the existing application itself and then move it. Now if you do a reconciliation, it won't match. So because here it's 100, here it's 80. So what I have to do is I have to take the updated version of 80 and what is the total number and what is the total value, and then match it with the destination system. And summary of verification, because wherever you hear the migration of application, there will be a report stating what kind of migration they have done and what are the reports or what are the issues they have faced and what are the data they have lost. So all those things will be in the migration audit. We can be a part of that because we know what kind of data is critical and not critical. And you can see, okay, these are the types of data I want in my source system and these are types of data I don't want it. So there we can contribute to them. And these are the process. One is planning and data profiling. These are the key things. Data profiling basically means, like I told, this column should have only the date format. This column should have only the positive values. This column should have only alphanumeric with 10 digit. So when you profile it, you know, because systems have or companies have faced this issue. In the old system, they'll have 4 decimals, but in the newer system, they'll only have 2 decimals. So the overall value will be different. So there is a problem. You have to know, okay, what are the categories or fields available in my old system? What are the fields available in my new system? If it's not compatible, I have to go for an alternative thing or create a new field in the application. And before migration, you have to do a data backup. If you use Tally, you know before it migrates or ask for whether you have to back up the data or not. So you have to have a backup file of the old data and then migrate it to the new design. And then you have to parallelly run both applications, seeing whether both applications give the same result for the same input. Once that is achieved, you stop or drop the old asset or old application. So post migration and the successful sign off only, you can have the migration report. And we also have IT gap analysis. Nowadays it's becoming more popular because we know the process better, but we don't know the technical aspect. And they can't explain the functional aspect to a tech guy. He'll be blabbered, okay, what this guy is telling. So what we can do is, we can understand the goals and objects of the business. And then we understand the process requirement. So then we have to do what actual process is there and what kind of controls they have for each and every process. So I've taken a simple example of ordering. a customer is ordering from an online portal. This is a component diagram. So I just giving a different components. Say this is accounting system, this is a warehouse or inventory. This is all our online modules. Think of it. So this is the web store and this is the user. So what user does is he registers in the user portal or the customer portal, and then he logs into it and it authenticates it. This detail will be stored in the customer data. Like a vendor master, you have a customer master also. So then once I add it to the cart, the orders will be added here, and then I can purchase it. And it will take me to the payment gateway. So this is kind of a process. And I can do it in such a way. This is the UML diagram format. Or I can do it in this way also. This is for credit card payment, but I just want to give you an idea. This is called as BPM flowchart. So business notation flowchart. So what you do is, you start and you say, okay, what functional aspects I'm doing here. And you can have a swim lane stating which application I'm doing it or which department is doing this. And then you can say, okay, here I'm having this control, here I'm having that control. So once you do this, then you know what kind of problems you have. So I have taken this online ordering example. So here the customer is adding the like a goods into the cart, but when he or she goes to the payment module, automatically it gets back to the cart. The payment is unsuccessful. So what we can do is, we can do a root cause analysis. So for IT gap analysis, first of all, we have to understand the business objective, business goals, and then we have to understand what process they are following in which systems. And once we understand the controls implemented, we can form this root cause analysis of the problems. Here, there is a lag in opening of payment page. And the external factors we have considered is internet. The user internet will be like slow, the bandwidth will be low, so he can't have it. Session inactivity. Like in the user access management, we saw within 2 minutes or 3 minutes, the user access will be logged out automatically in the banking sectors. So it could be this problem. And like, so all those fields like vendor, seller stock service response time, there's an increase in vendor time. So what they do is, they come out on the payment module. So there's a like authorized page unoptimized code. So there's a bug in the code. So all those are your risk or a root cause analysis for the process flaws. So once you identify it, we can give a remediation. So once you identify the gap, we can give a proper remediation to the client stating, okay, you can implement so-and-so control, or you can like have a compensatory control, or you can develop the system altogether to have a better control here. So I think I've got most of it. This is the future right now. So far, the Companies Act and IT Act governed everything. But in the future, all the DPDP Act, the Cybersecurity, even a Companies Act can have IS audit, possibly. Because if you see income tax and GST, all those things are automatically connected right now. Income tax is collecting data like anything, because AAS and TAS has come. So if you just put a bank account number and a PAN number, you can fetch any of the transactions you can make. You can't hide anything away from them. So, and the future could be AI and blockchain. Have you ever wondered how YouTube works? You've been seeing one type of reel, and at the same time, in the same location, if you sit in the next day, same reel will be coming, or a similar reel will be coming. That's the algorithm written. You just check at a particular point in time, say at 10 o'clock in a night, you're sitting in office and watching a reel, and on the next day you're watching different thing at your home. If you come back on the third day at your office, the similar reel what you have seen the day before yesterday will be coming, because that's how the algorithm is done. So for a particular user, for a particular time, for a particular location, these are the things that should be happening. That's how ads work. Digital marketing, that's how it works. So that's why the future could be AI. We don't even know code right now, but the AI is writing its own code. So the future is that. Let's learn some coding and let's learn some IT. Thank you.